It started as a typical Monday morning. The sun peeked through the blinds, casting soft golden rays across our bedroom. I sipped my coffee, leaning against the doorframe, watching Olivia as she stood by the mirror, meticulously applying her makeup. She had always taken her appearance seriously, but today, there was something different. A glow. Not the kind that came from a restful sleep or the satisfaction of a job well done, but something deeper, something alive. It was unsettling. Big meeting today, I asked casually. She glanced at me through the mirror, her smile faint, not quite reaching her eyes. Yeah, something like that, she murmured. The response was vague, almost dismissive, and a flicker of unease tightened in my chest. Over the past few months, Olivia had changed. Late nights at the office, sudden business trips, a new obsession with her phone. I had convinced myself it was just work, stress, responsibilities, but the nagging feeling in my gut whispered something else. She grabbed her purse, moving toward the door. Just before stepping out, she turned to me. Don't wait up for dinner. I'll probably be working late. I forced a smile. Sure. Good luck with the meeting. She didn't look back. The door clicked shut, and silence settled over the house. I stood there for a moment, staring at the empty space she left behind, the uneasy feeling growing heavier. Something wasn't right. I needed to know what. That evening, I did something I never thought I would. I wasn't the jealous or overbearing type, but the doubt had become unbearable. Olivia had left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I hesitated, my hands trembling slightly as I reached for it. Maybe I'd find nothing. Maybe I was being paranoid. But then I saw it. Her emails. A name I didn't recognize. Daniel. At first, the messages seemed professional, work-related even. But as I scrolled further, the words shifted. Can't wait to see you. Last night was amazing. My chest tightened, breath catching in my throat. The words blurred as the reality of a betrayal sank in. I closed the laptop, my mind racing. Confronting her now would be reckless, but pretending everything was fine was impossible. I needed more. The next day, I hired a private investigator. The decision felt surreal, like something out of a bad drama, but I needed the truth. Not assumptions, not half-truths. The week that followed was agonizing. I watched Olivia more closely than ever. The way she dressed up even for small errands, the way her phone never left her side, the way she smiled, secretive, distant. Her excuses became flimsier, her laughter more hollow. Then the investigator called. I met him in a small cafe downtown. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were photographs, timestamps, locations. A stark, undeniable truth laid bare. Olivia wasn't working late. She was meeting Daniel at a hotel. I flipped through the images, my hands cold and numb. There they were, smiling, touching, sharing moments that should have been ours. A reality I hadn't been prepared to face. That night, she came home later than usual, humming softly as she set down her purse. Hey, she said, flashing me a smile. Sorry I'm late. Work's been crazy. I looked at her, my heart pounding, the weight of what I knew pressing against my ribs. The words burned on my tongue, but I swallowed them. It's fine, I said, my voice carefully even. She talked through dinner as if nothing had changed, as if our life wasn't unraveling before us. I nodded in all the right places, but my mind was somewhere else. That night, as she slept peacefully beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The evidence was irrefutable, but the confrontation ahead felt impossible. I didn't want to destroy our marriage, but I couldn't live with the lies either. 2 days later, the moment arrived. I had rehearsed what I wanted to say, but when I finally looked her in the eyes, the words felt heavier than I ever imagined. Olivia, I began. As she sat across from me at the dining table, I exhaled slowly, steadying myself for what had to be said. We need to talk. She looked up from her plate, her brow furrowing. What's wrong? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I reached for the folder beside me, my fingers tightening around its edges before sliding it across the table. This! Her expression shifted instantly. The color drained from her face as she hesitated before opening it. Page by page, her eyes flicked across the evidence, the photographs, the messages, the undeniable truth. Her hands trembled, her breath shallow. When she finally looked back at me, tears were already brimming in her eyes. "I can explain," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I held up a hand. "Don't." My voice was calm, too calm. A storm raged inside me, but I refused to let it show. "I've seen enough. I just want to know why." She swallowed hard, lowering her gaze to the table. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. I don't know," she admitted at last, her voice raw. "It just happened. We've been drifting apart, and Daniel, he made me feel seen." The words sliced through me like a blade. I clenched my fist beneath the table, forcing myself to breathe. "And what about me?" My voice was quieter now, laced with something even deeper than anger, pain. "Did you ever stop to think about how this would affect me?" She opened her mouth as if to respond, but no words came. None that would change what had already been done. The silence between us was deafening. That night, I packed a bag. I didn't have a destination in mind, only the overwhelming certainty that I couldn't stay. The walls of our home, once filled with love and laughter, now felt like a prison. Every framed photograph, every familiar scent, was a reminder of what had been shattered. I drove aimlessly before checking into a hotel, where I spent the next few days lost in a haze of emotions. Anger, sadness, confusion. Friends reached out, their voices kind, their concern genuine, but I wasn't ready to talk. How could I explain what had happened when I barely understood it myself? In the weeks that followed, I began the slow, painful process of rebuilding. I found a small apartment. Not much, but it was mine. I started therapy, forcing myself to confront the whirlwind of emotions I had been drowning in. I focused on rediscovering who I was beyond the title of husband. Olivia reached out. Texts, calls, voicemails left in the dead of night. She begged for forgiveness, swore she would change, promised we could fix what had been broken. But I knew the truth. Trust, once shattered, is nearly impossible to repair. One evening, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, she stood there, rain-soaked and trembling, her eyes red from crying. "Please," she whispered. "I know I messed up, but I love you. I want to fix this." I studied her for a long moment, my heart heavy with a mixture of love and resentment. There had been a time when I would have done anything for this woman, when her pain was my pain, her joy my own. But some wounds cut too deep. "Olivia," I said softly, "I forgive you." Her breath hitched, a flicker of hope passing through her tear-filled eyes. "But," I continued, "forgiving you doesn't mean I can forget. And it doesn't mean we can go back to the way things were." She sobbed then, her shoulders shaking as she pleaded for another chance. But I had already made my decision. Sometimes, love isn't enough to mend what's been broken. In the months that followed, the pain dulled, the wounds slowly healed. I threw myself into my career, taking on projects that reignited a passion I hadn't felt in years. I traveled, saw places I had only dreamed of, and in doing so, I discovered something unexpected. The world was still full of beauty, still full of kindness. One afternoon, while wandering through a park in Chicago, I saw a family playing together. A father lifted his daughter into the air as she squealed with laughter, her mother beaming beside them. I watched them, expecting to feel sorrow, regret. But instead, I felt something else. Hope. Hope that one day, I might build something new. A life untainted by betrayal. A love that was honest, unwavering. And for the first time in years, I felt ready to move forward, ready to open my heart again.